What's up guys, NepentheZ here and welcome to a bumper episode of the Road to Glory. In the last episode we started off on some Foot Champs games. We only played 5 games though in Foot Champs on that episode because of what else was going on in the episode. And on this episode I've only got 10 games in, but the episode's super long. It's like 47 minutes long or so. And the reason it's so long is because, as you can probably tell by the title, we did get Ibra. I'm going to talk about Ibra a little bit through the episode. We've got a lot to cover today. So sit back, relax. You could probably get through a fair amount of games on FIFA whilst listening to this. Probably like 2 or 3 games at least. Maybe 4 games if you get a Rage Quit Reno. Would be nice. And of course we're finishing off some of the marquee matchups that we didn't do in the last episode. I've saved that Premium Team of the Week pack. The reason why I saved that pack is because this Team of the Week, it is not the best, but not only is it not the best, excuse me, not only is it not the best, it's a week because of Team of the Year. We've got the guaranteed inform packs, which people open because they can do it for cheap. It just really reduces the price of informs. What this also means as well is that next week's Team of the Week, unless it's a spectacular Team of the Week with some really high rated players, I also won't open it for that Team of the Week because the wonderful wizard of FIFA, really, because everybody's saving their Team of the Week tradable packs for the coming Wednesday, because you guys know at Wednesday at 6 PM when the new Team of the Week comes out, the players are at their most expensive instantly as people want them and pay over the odds to get them. So people save those tradable Team of the Week packs to pack them early and sell them on. And what this does is it crashes the market earlier than it should do. So I'm very tempted to wait another week unless there are some exceptional players in the packs. For example, if there's we could be seeing an Alexis Sanchez 92 card. We could be seeing, who else did really good this weekend? The weekend of football isn't over yet. But we could be seeing a few like crazy good players. If there are some super high rated players, I'll give it a shot. But if it's only 1 or 2 decent players and then a load of average or bad players, I won't open it this week. I'll open it next week. And the same with if potentially we get to Elite this week, the same with that Premium Team of the Week pack. Now, this Ibrahimovic SBC so far, 3 out of the 4, they didn't really cost me much because of what I had already in the club from rewards earned and from untradeable Team of the Weeks. We ended up doing it for very cheap, or rather not very cheap, to no cost. Yeah, I could have sold those players and got some coins for them. Not the untradables, of course, but the tradables I could have sold and got a little bit of coins for. But in general, it probably had cost me a maximum of like 30 to 40,000 coins of buying players to complete this Zlatan Ibrahimovic, other than turning in Zlatan Ibrahimovic himself, right? So with that being said, I'm going to get into some comments. I picked a whole bunch of really good comments, a wide range of comments for today's video as well. The first one is from AMR Meligi. He says, "Hey Nep, big fan of the series. Isn't it strange that in Foot Champs where there are dedicated servers, we face input delay and speed up lag, whereas in divisions and drafts which are normal servers, we never see such thing? Any explanations?" First and foremost, I have experienced speed up delay or speed up lag, or whatever we're calling it now. I have experienced that in draft before, and I know Bateson experiences it a lot in draft. You can see here as well on the screen, guys, I went and bought Marcelo. I believe I bought Marcelo for like 640. Let me go into Footbin. I bought him on Friday. I also bought Luka Modric for 1.1. Marcelo is currently going for 671. And they're out of packs. By the time you're watching this, they're out of packs. But at the time of recording this, there's still 24 hours left of them in packs. So I bought Marcelo for like 645, and he's going for 675 right now. So I could sell him for a little bit of profit. It'll be interesting to see how the price adjusts after the after the players aren't in packs anymore. And I bought Luka Modric for 1,130,000. And Luka Modric is now worth 1,050,000. So I've lost about 80,000 on Modric straight away. But I didn't mind because these are 2 players that won't really get upgraded again through the year. They'll be in the team the whole year. And any amount of depreciation on them comes hand in hand with depreciation on other players. So, I could have bought Ramos instead of Modric for 1.3 million when I bought Modric. And now Ramos is 900k. So even though Modric has depreciated by 80k, one of the players that I could have got in his place, Sergio Ramos, has depreciated by 400k. So it all goes hand in hand. Like if I decided to sell those two, I could still afford the players that were there before because of the way it works. I'm sure you guys understand. In terms of what Amir Melaji said, the FUT champs do have dedicated servers, and whilst I will say my knowledge on servers and how they work and what they mean is very, very limited, but to my understanding, dedicated servers does not mean perfect servers. It does not mean that they will never fail or ever have faults, and it does not mean that you get like lag-free experiences. There was a thread on Reddit where a guy, I can't remember the exact details, but I'm gonna summarize basically, and what I'm saying here might be off in terms of locations, but the fact still remains the same. So let's assume he was in California. I can't remember exactly where he was. What he was doing is he was measuring his ping to the server. I don't know how he did it. Obviously, like, I'm not a tech guy in that sense. I don't know how people do that sort of kind of thing. But he measured his ping to the servers, and quite often he didn't connect to his closest server, which meant his ping was at times 200 or 300 milliseconds to a server instead of 8 to 10 milliseconds. So even though they're dedicated servers, if he's like, let's say he's from California and he connects to a server that is a 300 millisecond ping away, and I also connect to the same server that's a 100 millisecond ping away, and we match up against each other, I am going to have a marginally better basically game than him, just because my responses are quicker. And that's factual. And he tested it, and he got a really low server, but he also connected to a very close server to him, and it still had a high ping. So the server you connect to doesn't necessarily mean that you're having, that you've got a perfect connection or a good ping, or you're going to come up against someone and have a smooth game. It really can be luck of the draw, depending on what server you connect to. So I'm taking this on board myself for my future FUT Champions journeys, and I urge you guys to do the same thing. When you are feeling like the gameplay is laggy or sluggish, or you're struggling and your passes aren't doing what you're doing, don't persevere and go through it. Hard reset your console, unplug the power, plug it back in, and hopefully when you go back into EA and connect to the game again, hopefully you'll connect to a different server, which could offer you a better ping. Alternatively, you might connect to the same server, but just have better connection with that server. So, as I say again, if you guys feel like you're struggling in FUT Champs and you feel like it's the game that's screwing you, like, in my opinion, like, chances are it's not the game that's screwing you anyway. Like, a lot of people just use this as an excuse. Now, I see it a lot, like, when one thing becomes a common idea as to why it can be a reason for people losing, they just run with it as truth and gospel. I'm not saying this is the truth or it's gospel. I'm not saying it's the reason you're losing or anything like that. What I'm saying is that you're in a situation where you might be on a bad connection to a dedicated server. So if you feel like your connection is the problem, hard reset your console and hopefully you get a better connection. What I was saying before about how, like, people run with excuses. Remember when I was streaming a few weeks back and there was this video posted up on the EA Spain official page, and with that this guy was talking about how there is morale in the game, and if you take a shot and the keeper saves it, it boosts the keeper's morale, and the more shots you take, the more he saves, the better he gets. And it explained a lot, and we was talking about it for a considerable amount of time as if this were true, because it was on EA's official page. Like, it didn't state it was opinion. It was a guy under the guise of EA saying morale's in the game, and this was a revelation to everybody, and everyone was like, this explains so much. So people started playing different. They started doing things like, instead of taking a pot shot, they would work the chance better and take a shot that they were convinced would be a goal, for the simple fact that they didn't want to give an easy shot to the keeper to boost his morale. Turns out that video was just the opinion of a person. It wasn't fact, and it's in fact not in the game. He came out himself, the guy who made the video, and said, this isn't part of the game, this is just how I feel with the game. And although in short term it explained a lot about a lot of things, and it may well be true, but according to EA it's not true, what I think it did was it forced people to play a style of FIFA that just made them more efficient. Because you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, I don't want to take this shot unless I know it's going to go in, so you play safer. You don't take that stupid angle shot, or you don't cross the ball to try and get a header and allow the keeper to catch it. You'll pass it, you'll work the ball, you end up taking high percentage chances, and low risk passes, which in turn just made you a better player. So because people's mentality said, there's morale in this game, I need to boost the morale of my players by playing clever FIFA, it actually just made people play better FIFA, which was the reason they were winning more and scoring more, not because the morale was in the game. So it was interesting. It was really interesting, and it even made me a better player because, as I say, I don't believe it's in the game. I could have believed it's in the game, and when I was talking about it on stream, I was like, yeah, this is it. This explains everything. But also, I'm sensible enough to realise and recognise that actually the reason why I started scoring more goals was because I was taking low risk, high percentage shots. I was taking less risk in my passing, less risk with my dribbles. I was basically just being a far more efficient player, which in turn helped me win more games. So there was that anyways. But it's the same thing with the ping. What I saw with that morale thing was every time people started losing games, they would message me and be like, oh my god, the morale, my players must be so low, or my opponent's goalkeeper's morale must be so high. And they just used it as an excuse for losing. And it's fine. If you need to find an excuse for losing, that's totally okay. I personally try and look at what I've done wrong in my losses and grow from them as a player. And there are games where there is just some absolute nonsense that causes me to lose the game. There are games where it's a close game and maybe I'm slightly better, but a few mistakes on my part cause my opponent to get a goal that he doesn't necessarily deserve and didn't warrant. But again, I don't necessarily think that's the game's fault. I don't think that's scripting or momentum. I personally believe that's just me making bad choices at the wrong times, I'm not saying to this server thing, because now all I can imagine seeing now, a lot of people tweeting saying, I lost this game because I had bad ping to the servers. And people using that as an excuse to lose games rather than looking at what they can do to grow as a player and learn as a player. There are some games where I get battered. Like this game here, this was actually quite an even game in many senses against my opponent there, except for the fact that he was just unbelievably clinical. You can see that 12 shots and 12 on target. I had 6 shots and 5 on target. Okay, I had less possession and I had way less shots, but if you look at 6 shots and 5 on target and you only see 1 goal, that's my bad for making the wrong shot choices. I mean, I deserve to lose this game. There is no question about it. My opponent was incredible. I messaged him afterwards as well saying, GG, incredible player. Unfortunately, no message back. I would have loved to have known if he's on the pro scene or if he gets top 100 or whatever. But there was no message back for us. But I deserve that loss. I say to you guys every week, there are games every week that I deserve to lose because I know I'm not the better player. There are games every week where I lose because I make mistakes, and then there are games every week that I lose. It's hard to explain. There are games that I lose because my opponent is better than me, right? And that game right there was one of them. Then there are games where the game is relatively even, and I have my chances, and my opponent has his chances, but my lack of decision making costs me and is what loses me the game. And then there are games against people who aren't as good as me, that use game mechanics that I'm unable to break down, that win off the back of 1 or 2 chances where I've basically had a load of chances and just panicked and panic defend and panic attack and cost myself. And every week there are these 3 types of losses. I don't mind losing the games where I play against someone who's just better than me and they beat me, because it helps me grow as a FIFA player. I end up learning a thing or two, and I hopefully come out of that a better player. I don't really mind losing the even games that I make bad decision making in, because when you just lose because you made a bad choice, that's entirely on you. That's on me. There are so many games, and there's actually a game I think it might be this episode, where I lose 1-0. It was such an even game. It was a 90th minute goal, and I had my chances. There were several times that I could have played a couple of through balls in that would have set me away, but instead I tried left trigger, right trigger, dribble. That's a bad decision on my part, because I do what's effective against the majority, and I find it difficult to adapt my game to the minority, and that's my fault. That's my problem. I need to learn how to adapt on a whim so that I can end up beating these players. So I don't really get mad at losing to better players, obviously. I get mad at me for losing through my bad decision making against equal players. But the thing that really bothers me in this game is losing to players that are not as good as me. Again, in my opinion, because you could make the argument if they beat you, clearly they've unlocked something that you can't do. They're better than you. But what it typically comes down to is me getting frustrated and panic defending and panic clearing and panic attacking. Like I get into a situation where I'll literally have like the easiest sweaty on and I'll be like, low drivens work. So I'll try a low driven and it fails. And now my opponent just gets the ball back and he can hit me on the counter. And I end up just like losing my cool essentially, and it ends up costing me games. So, you know, I don't mind losing those other games, but I try not to blame the EA or the ping or the servers. I try and look at it rationally to see where I can improve. One of the things I've noticed this weekend, I started noticing it last weekend a fair bit, but I've noticed it far more this weekend specifically, is my lack of reactions to easy opportunities. There are so many occasions when I'm sitting in the call with like Bates and Nick, Marshall and all the guys, Atani and such, playing FIFA. There are so many occasions where, I do like a lot of FIFA, for people like myself that play this game a lot of FIFA is muscle memory. You do the same things over and over because you know that it works. Your hands, your eye coordination gets used to doing it, so you do it. For me, for example, I run down the right wing a lot. When I get to the right wing spot, no matter who I've got, there's always a man that runs on the inside. So I try and use left trigger, right trigger to trot back, pass it inside. Now I've got options. I can either pass it off again and try a long shot, I could try a finesse shot, I could pass it back into the previous ball carrier, try and get in the box, or I could try a skill move and get there. But I always do the same kind of things, and you see with the goals that I score, they're always the same goals, like always the same kind of goals. By the way, this guy here, I came up against this guy and I was talking to Bateson at the time. I was like, I came up against a full silver team, and Bateson instantly went, does he have informed Lansbury in midfield? I was like, yeah, why? He's like, he's really good. I was like, oh, is Lansbury pretty good? He's like, no. The player is really good. I don't know why this dude goes into foot champs with his silver team, but it's clearly is something that he does quite often. But that goal that I score right there, that is a common goal for me. Getting the ball into the midfield, waiting for the runner, playing a through ball down the angle, cutting in across goal, hitting it across the keeper with the low driven. That was a low driven, I know it came off the floor there, but that's a common goal for me. And although I can see this guy brought it back to 1-1, I tell you something, guys, I've never played someone quite like this in foot champs. And it was difficult for me to keep my cool in this game. But what happened was, I know that silver players have a huge disadvantage late on because their stamina levels are super low, which means they get dead by the end of the game. So my opponent was ultra attacking. Look how high his line is here. He's ultra attacking the whole game. And I knew eventually I would get the opportunity to get him behind because he would have a really bad lack of stamina. And again, look at how I get through. Get through again with a through ball. Cut the ball across the goal, happy days. And as expected, late on, look at the stamina levels of his players. They can't do anything. And if he did manage to pull it back and take me to extra time, I would have won in extra time. Like I commend this guy for playing with a silver team, but I will say that if you ever come up against a team like this, just remember stamina is massively important in this game. And for him having this silver team, it is what cost him. Because if he had a gold team, as what Bateson said, he was very good at FIFA. And the fact that he had a silver team is ultimately what let him down. Not because the players don't perform as well, but just because they run out of stamina quicker than my gold players did. And that was all there was to that. But to go back to like the muscle memory stuff, like there are a few things this week that I've noticed, oh, I could have done that. Oh, I could have done that. Oh, I should have done that. And instead of like playing an obvious pass that I always do and then saying, oh, I should have done this, I need to start conditioning myself to do the other thing, you know, to actually get into the mindset of playing differently. Interestingly, the next game we come up against, there is a player with inform Wheater, and the guy was actually a sub, and he messaged me after the game saying good game, and I messaged him asking why Wheater. Why does he have him in defence? Because again, it cost him the game. Like late on in the game, I ended up tearing his, you know, he has like super low pace, and look at that again, my through ball through to my player and a low driven. It's so one-dimensional, but it works. So I asked him why he had Wheater in defence, and he said that that's the only inform that his club has this year, so he plays with him. And again, kudos to that. You know, I got lucky in a couple of games, like against two solid opponents, where ultimately I came through and won the games because of their lack of not even understanding, because I guess the guy with the silver team, he understands that he has low stamina on his players. He must have played with it enough times to realise that. And also the guy here, he must understand that David Wheater has a lack of pace and a lack of stamina that's going to cost him ultimately. But I guess I got fortunate in 2 consecutive games where I came up against 2 really good opponents who had huge flaws in the way their teams worked that ended up costing them the game, which is nuts. But that is my explanation for the servers. Going back to that question all the way there. Mental FIFA says, hi Nep, why are high agility strikers the best? Why do we prefer Lacazette over Benteke? Really want to hear your opinion on this. Love the vids and keep up the fantastic work. Well, thank you very much for the kind words, dude. I don't necessarily think or know that high agility strikers are the best. It's just that for my play style and the game that I play in FIFA, they are the best. You might have, because there are different play styles and different ways to play FIFA, you might, like, I don't really use shielding because I never, like, it's crazy. Last year I used shielding so much. This year I never really touched the trigger button unless I force myself to remember that it's a thing, right? So look at that goal from Modric as well, by the way. What a banger. So I like high agility strikers because I use left trigger, right trigger a lot, which means I need the agility and the balance and the reactions to be able to perform the moves with the ball at their feet, like close controlled, without them just losing possession really easily. So for me, because of the way that I play, and the fact that I use the sprint button a lot, because I sprint probably too much, it probably cost me a few games here or there, I sprint so much that I need that agility, because when I'm sprinting down the wing, and I want to cut in so that I can hit that driven shot across the goalkeeper, if I have high agility, they'll cut in sharp and keep their pace and their sprint speed. They'll maintain that pace. But if I have a low agility striker and I cut in sharp, they lose pace as they cut in, right? So for me, the way I play and how I do things, high agility on my strikers and my wingers is really, really important to my game style. But if you're the kind of person that uses shielding a lot, if you're the kind of person that doesn't really, if you play a more passive passing game rather than a high speed, high octane dribbling game like me, someone with strength and power and aggression, they would more suit your style. So if you're the kind of person like Marshall, for example, uses Ibrahimovic and loves him, I can't get on with those kind of players up front. But Marshall does it a lot because of the way his game style is. So for me personally, I think high agility strikers are better for me because of the way that I play FIFA. But for other people, they might enjoy other strikers, which is why I say, like, try it. You know, there's no good building a team that the pros build and using the custom tactics that the pros use, or just some guy or some YouTuber, someone that you think, oh, they play really good FIFA, I want to do what they do. There's no point copying what they do and what they have if that doesn't suit your playstyle. You've got to find it out for yourself. And I've done a few things with my player instructions, my custom tactics, that have been relatively beneficial for me, but because it suits me. So when people always say to me, what's your, what are your custom tactics? I'll say, my custom tactics, I have everything as default except for the last three things. I set my defensive line to cover instead of offside trap, and then I set my pressure and aggression to 30 on each. And the reason why I do that is because I like to manually defend. I don't like the AI to defend for me. The reason why I don't like the AI to defend for me is because they make mistakes. So what happens is, when you have high aggression and high pressure, or even medium aggression and medium pressure, what that does is it forces your defenders to go and attack the ball when you don't necessarily want them to attack the ball. And what it also does is it will cause them to start, like I conceded many goals in previous weekend leagues of defenders auto-lunging, trying to win a tackle that they're not close enough to win. And it took me ages to figure out, why are they doing this? What's going on here? Until eventually I thought, let me try low pressure and low aggression. And with conservative interceptions, which I also put on my centre-backs, and with low aggression, they no longer automatically lunge. They still do it from time to time, and it still screws me over from time to time, but in general, they no longer do that. And that's because of the way my custom tactics work. And that benefits me because of the way I defend. I want the AI to just stand there in the defensive line and maintain the zone so that I can take my midfielder and come back and get the ball, right? That's the way I defend. But some people don't defend like that. Some people like to aggressively go and get the ball. A9 Skills, for example, who is a far better player than me, consistently gets top 100 and is going to regionals, he is really aggressive in his defense. He slide tackles a lot, he charges the ball a lot, and because his reactions and his play style suit that, he's very successful with it. So you might be the kind of player that defends like AA, but watches me and says, what are your custom tactics? I want to do the same thing. And it will actually hurt you rather than help you. So I'll say this to anyone that's watching, if you see a playstyle of someone and it's very similar to yours and you think it will give you an extra edge, sure, emulate what they've got, but still tinker with it to suit you. But if you see someone playing really well and they play nothing like you, don't take their custom tactics or their team or their formation or their player instructions, because it's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. But anyway, moving on to the next question. Kyle Billingham says, why do you have those one-to-watch Alissons for? I bought those one-to-watch Alissons as an investment back around the Christmas time when we had that, when we was getting those SBCs for, what was we getting the SBCs for? For the, just the blue cards, like the daily, you know, the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th. I bought them for that because EA was showing that they were putting, you required Movember cards for them and stuff. I was thinking maybe they're going to do one-to-watch cards to be required for that. So I bought 4 of him, and I bought John Stones as well. I actually sold Stones for profit because he scored in a cup game and everyone thought that he was going to get an inform, even though cup games don't give you informs. So I gave him, I sold him for like about 4k profit. I didn't make huge money. You would have seen it in one of the previous videos. But ultimately, that game there as well, guys. Another game I deserved to lose. Like possession quite even, but my opponent, look at the shots and where they're from. He deserved the game. He deserved the win. We currently find ourselves like, I think 9-2, and I've got absolutely no complaints at either of my losses. I was just beaten by better players in 2 games. Nothing wrong with that. So I bought them as an investment, and it turns out you didn't require them. I've actually lost money on them. So again, I'm hanging on to them to hope that he gets an inform or an upgrade that I can then sell them on for a profit. But there are so many of them on the market for next to nothing that I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. I bought them as an investment, and if my investment failed, I was unsuccessful with it. Next question is NepentheZ says, I've been having a lot of trouble lately. Do you know any common mistakes new players make that affect the game? What could I possibly improve? The biggest common mistakes that people do are sprinting just far too much. When you sprint, like if you're sprinting when you take control of the ball, your touch won't be as good as when you're not sprinting. The other common mistake, like the biggest common mistakes are people just like going, like literally using custom tactics or D-pad tactics because they think that it will help them. Like if you struggle to score or if you concede a lot and you think, okay, let me go defensive or ultra defensive or part of the bus off the kickoff, that's a mistake. Because if you come up against someone who's better than you anyway, they're probably still going to break you down. It might be the odd game where you nick a win here or there, but like ultimately that'll be a mistake. I would genuinely say, other than people sprinting too much, one of the biggest mistakes people make is not learning the game mechanics. There is a lot of broken stuff this year. There are so many occasions where I'll play someone who gets many chances against me, but I end up destroying because they literally don't understand how the shooting mechanics work. Even to this day, even though I've scored thousands of goals with the low driven shot, and we've talked about it so many times, I still see comments every single video. How does he keep shooting like that? How does he perform that shot? How do you not know? We're almost 4 months into this cycle of FIFA, and you still don't know the most important broken game mechanic. That's insane to me. This is one of those games. Like that guy had 9 shots and 5 on target, a couple of long shots, but some from really, really good areas. And he was unable to take his chances because he doesn't know how to shoot properly. That is a common mistake. So I would say for any of you that are struggling with certain areas of the game, go and do the skill games until you can easily, comfortably beat the highest level of the skill game. Now, a long part of this video here, which is why this video is so long, is me discarding and or selling players. Reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going for that Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We will still talk about that when I get to the question, but basically this is me clearing out my club. I could have done this off camera, but I didn't want to be accused of cheating, which is interesting because I tweeted out when I got the Ibra, and one guy literally started sending me tweet after tweet for about 20 minutes, just constantly, cheater, cheater, I'm exposing you. There's no way you could have got all those coins. Because I had 1.9 million, I bought Modric and Marcelo, and then I got Ibra. He's like, there's no way in 1.9 million you can get Modric, Marcelo, and Ibra. And he was right. There's no way in 1.9 million coins I could have done that. But as you can see here, I've sold a lot of items. I showed you the trade pile of me selling the items, and then I'm discarding and selling a lot more items. Cards that I'll never use, cards that I'll pack again, cards that just have no value. I checked for most of the cards. I kind of know what cards sell and what cards don't, and then I discarded some cards. Obviously, there are a lot of gold cards, especially the common gold cards that I'm discarding here, that I could have sold for potentially 700 or 750 coins. But if they only went for their minimum of 650, I actually would have lost money. it would have been better to discard them because of the tax on the card. So what you're seeing now is me just discarding basically everything in my club to be able to afford that Ibra. Iro Hakanen says, I'm now in Division 1 but find draft really hard for me. It's frustrating because draft is my favourite game mode. Any tips for draft gameplay? I personally don't believe the gameplay is different. I just find it super interesting how people struggle in different areas of FIFA, and I think it's a mental thing. I personally struggle in Division 1. I can't win Division 1. I've tried 6 times. I've been relegated 2 of those times. I've not won Division 1 yet, and I really, really struggle with it. Whereas Nick 2018, his poor man's road to glory, has won Division 1 several times and finds it easy and hasn't ever been relegated. So, okay, that's weird, right? Maybe he's just a better player than me. Then you come to Foot Champs, and in Foot Champs, I constantly outperform Nick. I constantly get more wins than him. We both got Elite 1 once, which is brilliant. But generally, I will always finish with a couple more wins each week than Nick. So how's that? How is he struggling more in Foot Champs than me? And then there's you. You find it easy in Division 1, which I can't do. You find it tough in draft, which I find easy. I don't have an explanation for you. I genuinely feel like it's just a mental thing. I think you have a stigma in your mind now that draft is really difficult for me. I've got to do good this time, and you just put a pressure on yourself without realizing for no reason. So yeah, any tips for draft? Just play your normal game. I tell you, one of the biggest tips is take players in the draft that you know how they work or that you have in your main team. You know, if like 5 players pop up and there's like inform Marco Reus or regular Alexis Sanchez, and your mind says take Reus, you've never used Reus before, take Reus. Don't take Reus because you've used Sanchez and you know how he works, so he'll be more efficient for you. Also, don't forget you can still do custom tactics and player instructions in draft. A lot of people don't do that, and I think it causes them to lose a lot of games. Next comment is from Curtis. Says, Nep, are you going to do the Ibra Player of the Month SBC? Yes, I am, and yes, I did. And I both immediately regretted it and was insanely happy at the exact same time. So the reason why I was happy for doing it is because I want all the BPL Player of the Month cards. I kind of made a kind of mental decision with that once I got Costa, and I didn't particularly want Costa, especially for his value. I said right at the back start of this series, I want every SBC card. That was impossible because of what EA done. Now I decided that I want every Player of the Month card, which should be easy because I have a month to accumulate the coins required. I could have waited a little bit longer. I know there's potentially a Swedish transfer going to Manchester United. I think EA will put him in a high price band to start with because of the SBC, or they just won't transfer his card in until after the SBC because it's only there for 2 weeks and the deal isn't done yet. Or alternatively, he'll be so rare because so people will snap him up. It'll be very difficult to get one. So I did this Player of the Month Ibra, and immediately after realizing, I got up to about 660 coins, 660k or so. I actually managed to snipe an Ibra for 600k. But that 600k now, 2 days ago when I got that Ibra for 600k, Ramos was 1.2 million. So I was well away from being able to get that Sergio Ramos. Now though, Sergio Ramos is only 930k. So now I'm sitting there thinking, if I didn't get that Ibra, I would have only been like 300-400k away from the blue Sergio Ramos. And I've still got some things in the club that I can sell and discard. I've still got that premium Team of the Week pack that I'm going to open and get some coins from. And I've got this weekend's Foot Champs rewards coming. So it was very possible that if I didn't get that Ibra, I could have got the blue Ramos. However, I will still eventually accumulate enough coins to get the blue Sergio Ramos, I'm already back up to like 100,000 coins. I've got so much stuff in the club that I can sell, that I can discard, and I'll go through it this week at some point, I think. But yeah, I'm happy that I got him, and we started playing with him. We use him in centre midfield, and I always anticipate to use him in centre midfield. I do want to try him at striker to see if I can get to grips with him. I couldn't get to grips with Costa, but Ibrahimovic actually has really good agility, especially the 92 card. It has 91 agility, only 43 balance, but he has super high agility, super high reactions. And with the right chem styles, you can boost that even higher. And his stamina's good, and he's got 99 strength. So I really wanted to try him. And one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to try him in centre midfield rather than attack is because he's 6'4" with medium-low work rates. So he's not going to get caught up the field. It's not a 2-attacking midfield. It seems like it would be a good midfield. So with him, Costa and Modric in midfield, it's a deadly midfield, man. It's deadly, and hopefully we can win a lot of games with it. Next comment is Lightblade Plays says, "Hey Nep, do you think the Team of the Year players will rise in price when they're not available in packs anymore?" I don't know. Because of FUT Champs this year and because of how hard it's been to pack some of these blue cards, I honestly can't. I couldn't say to you guys whether or not they will go up or down, which is why I decided to buy Marcelo and Modric when I had the funds, because I just wanted to make sure that I had them and was able to afford them when I could afford them. Last thing I wanted to do was, again, something like Nick did way back when, a few months back. Cristiano Ronaldo's 1.1 million, and Nick had enough money to buy him. Week passes, he's 1.2 million, 1.3 million, before all of a sudden he's 1.6 million, and Nick missed out on buying the Ronaldo for 1.1 million and then using him and then selling him for profit. So, you know, that was a mistake on Nick's part, and I didn't want to be sitting here thinking, oh, I could have got Modric for 1.1 and now he's 1.4 and I've missed out. I wanted to sit here and be like, yep, I got Modric. Even if he goes down to 900 or 800k, I've got the best card that Modric is going to get all year. What more would I want? I wouldn't want anything more. So that's why I did that. And I just honestly, dude, I just don't know. If you've got the funds to buy the player, just go and buy the player that you want. Henry Haig Jones says at 13-11, Net backed out of a game because the opponent was FUT founder. I thought he said he didn't care about established date. This is going back to, I think, 2 videos ago where I was in a draft, and I tweeted about it as well. You can go and check my Twitter. The reason why I backed out against that guy was not because he was a FUT founder, but because the latency of the game was bouncing between red and orange. If you go back and watch the video, you can see the latency bar. It goes between red and orange. I honestly don't, like, the reason why I picked this comment is because it was in that video loads of times. People were like, aha, you've exposed and this. I'm not exposed about anything. I just don't want to play laggy games if I can help it. Next comment is from Ben Shannon, says, "Hey Nick, when do you stream?" I don't have a set schedule to stream. When I do stream, it will typically be later at night, like 10 PM or onwards. So follow me on Twitter to make sure you keep up to date with that. Noah says, "Nep, could you please make a different league team? It gets boring after so long watching the same players over and over again. Keep up the great vids. Been watching since FIFA 13. And before I talk about that, the next comment was, Harrison Terry says, "Hey Nep, I spent £40 on FIFA points for FIFA and got 240,000 coins, but now I only have 15k left from constantly selling teams. How do I tell if a team will perform or not? Please answer." Now, these two questions work in tandem because one guy is saying, change your team. This is, you know, we want to see different players. And the other guy is saying, I've changed my team a lot and I've got nothing left. Last year in FIFA, I said the same thing. If you keep buying and selling players, you're going to end up losing all your coins. And I've done the exact same thing with Sergio Ramos. I have bought and sold Sergio Ramos 4 times to the point where the depreciation and the tax that I've lost on him is worth more than the value of his card. I would genuinely have been better off if I'd just kept him the entire time instead of selling him to get coins back and then buying him back and then selling him to get coins back. I would have done better. It would have been better for me. There's no two ways about it. So one of the biggest reasons why I'm not making different teams is because, first of all, it's not good for your coin management. And second of all, is because I've got a formula that works for me and I don't want to change that, especially when there's so much on the line with FUT Champs. If you find it gets boring, I suggest you go and watch a Road to Glory account that offers a lot of team changes. And that's not me being negative or saying, oh, get off my channel or whatever. I want you to enjoy your time on the videos that you watch. You know, you have limited time every day to watch YouTube. I want you to have fun with the people that you're watching. And if you find me boring, I would urge you to find someone who is like more fits your viewing pleasures, because I'm not going to change the team and lose myself loads of coins and loads of wins in FUT Champs and having fun with the players I'm having fun with because somebody finds it boring. Also, for me personally, it's my mission this year to get a player to 1,000 games and a different player or the same player or a player to 1,000 goals. I've tried to do it for the last few years, and because of promoting coins and stuff, I was always getting hacked and or banned. I'm not in that scene anymore, so my accounts are safe. Like, I've got no chance of this account getting, you know, going anywhere. So basically, I'm in a position now where I've already got over 500 games on 2 players. Chris Smalling, for me, by the way, has over 500 games and no red cards. I packed a Chris Smalling. I sold the pack pooled Chris Smalling because I wanted to keep the stats on the other Chris Smalling. I've also got Heung-min Son has like 540 games or something for me. Eden Hazard is up over 400 games. Theo Walcott is up over 400 games. Raheem Sterling is up over 400 games. I want to get these dudes to huge stats, so at the end of the year I can look back and be like, look at what this guy done for me this year. So yeah, ultimately, if you want to see different teams, I suggest a different channel. And for Harrison's question, it says, how do I tell if a team will perform or not? This goes in tandem with another comment. Where is the comment? I can't find it now. Hold on. I lost the comment. Damn, I must have not screen capped it. Basically, there was a comment that said, like, it was talking about like chemistry styles and player values and stuff, and why is one player, why is it more important this year than previous years? I swear I have it. Oh yeah, there you go. Jack Houlihan says, why did chem styles become such a big deal this year and not in previous FIFAs? The main difference this year is that we can see where the stats are applied and what impact it has on the player, where EA have never released this information before. On top of that, in previous years, or as far back as FIFA 12 with proof, chemistry on non-day one players, so any special card in the game, any upgrade, any inform, any transfer card, any card that was not in the original database on release was not affected by chemistry or chemistry styles, which is nuts that it took us so many years to figure out. But that's why in previous years it never had such an impact, and first of all because it didn't work, and second of all because EA didn't tell us how it works. This year they tell us how it works, and it plays huge dividends. For example, when you take into consideration two players like Ronaldo and Anthony Martial, you can get Ronaldo to a certain amount of stats, and he will he will perform very well. But you can also get Anthony Martial to very close to Ronaldo's key stats, not his overall stats. There are certain areas where Ronaldo is just better than Martial no matter what. But you can get Martial's pace to 99 along with Ronaldo's. You can get his shooting in the important areas up to the high 90s, which is massive. His dribbling is good. His stamina lacks a little bit, but it's decent for a winger that you're going to sub out anyway. So ultimately, the reason why chem styles became such a big deal this year is because there is far more information on them and how they dictate the player. The next comment was from Ollie Cullen. Says, hey Nepo, I've been wondering, because of Inform Nainggolan card has such well-rounded stats, would it be smart to put a basic chem style on him, as it would maybe put all of his card stats above 90? No, that's unfortunately not how it works. The basic chem style, although it does boost in each of the 6 overall categories, the individual stats that it boosts aren't very good. For example, it boosts acceleration, but not sprint speed. So it gives an overall of +2 pace to Nainggolan, but only in his acceleration. So he doesn't actually become faster, he just gets to his top speed a little bit quicker. In the passing categories, it boosts curve, long passing, short passing, and vision, which is actually pretty good, but it only boosts stats by 5, nothing more. The individual chem styles, the other chem styles that direct the stats somewhere, boost stats by 5, 10, and up to 15. So it boosts his physical overall by 2, but it actually boosts his jumping and strength. It doesn't touch his stamina or his aggression. In defending, it boosts it by 3, but it doesn't touch his interceptions or heading, and it only boosts his marking, sliding tackle, and standing tackle by 5. So, like, overall, it would be better, in my opinion, to apply a chem style that boosts the areas of Nainggolan for how he fits your team. If you use him as a CDM, it might be better, more prudent to put like a shadow on him or an anchor on him or something like that that's going to boost defending and is going to boost his pace, rather than putting something on him that boosts areas that don't really work for you. So that is the team that we're taking into the rest of this Foot Champs, guys. It may be unsuccessful. I'm taking a big risk by going into Foot Champs with 4 brand new players that I haven't used yet. Almost an overhaul of half my team. We now have a complete overhaul in midfield compared to 2 weeks ago, where we had the 3 SBC guys. We had SBC Chan, SBC Chadley, and SBC Fernandinho. Now we have Player of the Month Ibra, Player of the Month Costa, and Team of the Year Luka Modric. And while overall these players have better stats, their work rates, their height, the way they feel and play in game, very different. So it could be a mistake, but I wanted to risk it. I wanted to see how these played, just to see if I'm going to be using these for the future or not. And Ibra was the biggest one for me. Ibra was the biggest risk. We paid 600,000 coins to get that Player of the Month Ibra. If he's unsuccessful, that's going to be really bad news for me, because it's going to have been 600,000 coins wasted that could have gone in on a Team of the Year Toni Kroos or gone towards a Team of the Year Sergio Ramos. Lots of things, you know, lots of extra things we could have done with those coins. Big D Malt says, "Hey Nep, love the series. However, team is more than 3%." Talking about, you know, my opinion of what team is, what skill is, etc. He says, "A9 skill's got 36 wins with his mega team and only 30 wins on his road to glory. This implies that player skill is roughly 83 to 84% and team is everything else, and everything else is remaining 16 to 17%. I mean, you're way off. The reason why you're way off is because you've taken his best finish on his main account against his only finish on his road to glory account. If you took his worst finish on his main account, I think it was 32 wins. So if you take that one and his road to glory account, that means that super team that he had compared to a super cheap team was only worth 2 extra wins. So that's not that great. And if we take into consideration what he might do this week on a road to glory, he might get 34 or 35 wins this week on his road to glory. You can't take the data of one event and say that this is true to everything. You need more data than that. You need more examples. I get what you're saying, but even still, to get into FUT Champs anyway is difficult. So the fact that he can finish elite in his first attempt with only playing FIFA for 1 week, because remember, he's playing a road to glory. He hasn't done anything different to anyone else. He hasn't put any money into the game. He hasn't put any coins into the game. He has played the game for 1 week. And in that 1 week, he has accumulated a team that was good enough to finish elite in FUT Champions. Think about that and then tell me how the team is like more or less important than player skill. He got elite in FUT Champs because he is an incredibly skilled player. There is nothing else to it. We're nearly out of time here. I think this is the final game for the episode. But Conor McCabe says Lloris is a horrific keeper, Nep. The reason why I picked this is because, in my opinion, all the keepers are horrific if the person understands the shooting mechanics. When I play against someone who doesn't understand the shooting mechanics, I can genuinely tell the difference between Butland and De Gea. De Gea makes some wonder saves for me. I'm like, holy crap, thank God this guy doesn't know that the low driven works, otherwise I'd be screwed. But when you come to like a keeper versus an attacker and a player who understands the shooting mechanics, you can have that 98 Neuer in net, and if I hit a low driven against him, it's still going in because that shooting mechanic is so broken. But yeah, you know, the keepers are an interesting one. There's an argument to be made that keepers are all bad and keepers are all good. And ultimately, it depends on the player you're playing against and how they take their shots. Anyway, guys, we end up getting a 1-0 win there in a game that was quite a tough game, but, you know, a game well-deserved win. I think we're 12-3 at this stage, maybe 12-2. Yeah, 12-3 after 15 games. Not the best, could be a little bit better, but not the worst. Definitely 2 deserved losses in there. Could be 13-2, but 12-3 isn't bad. If we can maintain that ratio, we'll get into Elite 2 again, which will be great. But this, though, guys, is going to be the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But for now, guys, I'm out. Peace.